us by phone, at the end of each segment, we're going to have like a Q&A time. So if you have a question, if you can just hold on to it until the very end of, we have actually 4 different sections we're going to talk to you about tonight. So I'm going to start with introductions. My name is Tanza Penrod. I am the dean here at Endeavor of kindergarten through 2nd grade, the Young Fives kindergarten through 2nd grade. I have been at Endeavor for 17 years. I've taught kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So those lower elementary kiddos are they're my forte. Both of my children were at Endeavor from kindergarten through 8th grade. And I just, in my spare time, I love my dog. So the kids will hear about my dog a lot, but I also love to play volleyball and I like to go kayaking. So I'm going to allow a minute for each of our kindergarten teachers that are with us tonight to introduce themselves. And so if Mrs. Underhill, you want to go first?
My name is Mrs. Underhill. I am finishing up my 4th year at Endeavor. I have been in kindergarten all 4 years. Before Endeavor, I did 3 years of early childhood education. And before that, I was a substitute teacher. And before that, I was a mother of 5 of my own children. So I've had kind of a mini school going on my whole adult life. I love to kayak as well, but I also love to vacation. We vacation all over the United States and even out of the United States. And right now I do have a pug, but I'm really, really, really trying to get a greyhound. And I am a virtual teacher this year, but maybe next year I'll be back in the school.
All right, Mrs. Claymola, you want to go next?
My name is Caitlin Claymola. In the fall will be my 4th year at Endeavor. I'm in my 3rd year in kindergarten, I think. Yes. I'm currently pregnant and my baby is due in May, so I'll be there the entire school year next year. I don't know what else to say.
What do you like to do for fun?
When I'm not at school, I like to go to the zoo during the summer when it's warm out and open. I really enjoy reading. I thought it'd be a good idea for some reason to go back to school for my master's degree. So I'm currently working on that also for special education. So that's basically who I am right now, and I love teaching. I love coming to school every day. I love coming to Endeavor every day. It's a great place to be. So it's really, really exciting. So
we're cheering you on for your master's degree, and for your baby girl. Mrs. Vanderclock.
Hi, everybody. I am the one that's been the least long, doesn't sound right. I haven't been at Endeavor very long. I've taught 1st grade for a lot of years, and before that, I taught preschool for lots and lots of years. And I've been at Endeavor, this is my 2nd year, and both years I've been teaching kindergarten, so it's been like right in between. I grew up in Kalamazoo, but lived all over the place, and moved back towards Kalamazoo to be close to our grandkids. I'm a Nana, and so I have 2 grandkids that live in Marshall, which has been wonderful to be close to them. I like the zoo. I would love to kayak. I don't have one. I'm more of a hiker. I do lots of biking, and I love to garden. That's kind of my favorite thing to do when I'm not in school.
Nice. Mrs. Vanderclough, I'll take you on a kayak trip sometime, okay?
Okay.
Cool. All right. And then missing tonight is Mrs. Walker. She is our Young Fives kindergarten teacher. She has been in Endeavor for, I'm going to say 6 years, 5 or 6 years. She has taught Young Fives for all but one of those years. She was in 3rd grade for 1 year. And she has a little 1-year-old at home. Yeah, 1. She'll be 2 in July, I believe. So, and she had an appointment this evening. So she may join us for just a short, but she's not on right now. So for those of you who have joined since we started, I just want to say again, welcome to the kindergarten information meeting night tonight. I want to let you know that we're going to go through 4 segments here, and at the end of each segment, if you are on your phone, we will open up for a question time about that segment. If you are on video, feel free to throw your questions into the chat box. Mrs. Manier is going to monitor that for us. So I am going to turn it over right now to our registrar, Mrs. McCalvey, who has been with our school since the day that it opened. So she has lots of knowledge about Endeavor, and she's here to give you a little bit of information about registering for kindergarten. So take it away, Mrs. McCalvey. You're muted. You're muted. So muted. Take your headphones out, unplug your headphones a minute. See if that makes a difference. Nope.
Unplug the headphones from the laptop.
She
Oh,
did.
they are.
She's like, I did.
Okay, well, is the mute button on for the meeting? Do you have your? Well, maybe we'll move on to something else and see if she can figure
until
it
she
out.
can figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Mrs. McCalvey, you work on figuring out how to unmute yourself. Okay. All right. So I want to talk tonight about the difference between our young fives and kindergarten program. I'm going to start with that. So
I got it.
any child entering, oh, did you get it?
I did.
Oh, you know what? You do your thing and then I'll get started and then I'll go after you.
All right. When I touched it and minimized the picture, then there was a microphone I could click on. Who knew?
Ah, got it. Okay. All right.
I am happy to be with you tonight. This is a different way to have a kindergarten information meeting, but I guess we're all getting flexible and used to doing things a little bit differently.
Yeah,
I have been with Endeavor since the day we opened, and this is our 23rd school year. So I like to consider myself an information junkie. So I do know lots of things about lots of things, and sometimes that's good and sometimes maybe not. But anyway, I am glad to have lots of new families looking forward to joining us next year. And the place that you will find me is at the front desk, just as you would enter the door. So since we're not having a lot of guests in the building at this point, you and I are likely going to meet at the front door or just in our lobby. And so I'd just like to encourage you, if your child has been accepted, I'm assuming that's all of you since you're on this meeting, you would have been sent a letter in the mail as well as an email with that acceptance letter. So it just requires a response from you. And many of you have done that already. I've been processing those forms this week and working through all of those. So most of the forms are online. There's very little that is not on your parent portal. And the parent portal is going to be something that you're going to want to make sure that you get set up and then actively use from now forward. It is your best tool for finding information and filling out forms, as we have moved into more of a digital world in the past few years, and even more so this last school year. There's a lot of information that's there and easily filled out on the portal. One of those things that is new to, if you're a new parent, you won't recognize it as new, but it is new for us, is that we are collecting proof of residency. The state requires that of us now. So along with the information you got, there should have been a list of a few different documents that you could turn in. And there's only one form that you actually have to walk into us, and that is the birth certificate. We're required to see the original birth certificate and then make a copy for our files. Anything else, like your proof of residency or an immunization record, proof of vision screening, and this year also new is proof of a dental examination. All of those things you can upload through your parent portal. You'll see a link that says submit forms online, I think is how it's worded. Under, as you click on your student's name and then look for that, that's where you're going to find that. And it's very easy. You're going to take a picture with your phone and submit it through there. It is a secure way. Instead of you scanning something and emailing it to us through what's called ShareBase, those are securely copied, and then I have a secure code that changes every time I log in for security purposes. And then I can print those and put them in your child's file. So it's a pretty easy process. We're getting used to doing things digitally more now, and hope that you find that that is easy and convenient for you as well. So if you will just take time to make sure that you are completing all of those forms and doing all of them, so that we don't have to circle back around and remind you that things are done. A couple of things that seem to sometimes fall through the cracks are the proof of vision screening and proof of a dental exam. You can work on those anytime from now till school starts, but they are required to be turned in before your child attends the first day of school, along with an up-to-date immunization record. So those are all things to keep in mind. And if you ever have any questions, certainly feel free to call our office, and either myself or Mrs. Bond, who works at the main desk with me, will be happy to help you in any way that we can. Are there any questions for me about any of that?
Nothing coming through. I think you're good.
Okay, good. Then I'll mute myself and hang in here.
This is Penrod.
Doggone it. Okay. Now I want to tell you a little bit about our kindergarten and our Young Fives programs. So we have 3 kindergarten classrooms and we have 1 Young Fives classroom. For all 3, for all 4 of those classrooms, your child needs to be 5 by September 1st. There is a waiver that can be submitted if birthdays are before December 1st. But I highly encourage you to enroll your child in our Young Fives classroom if you're considering signing the waiver to enroll your child at Endeavor. There are some things that help us determine whether a child would be better suited for our Young Fives program or our kindergarten program. And I want you to understand too that all of the programs, Young Fives and kindergarten, are considered a kindergarten classroom. However, our Young Fives go on to kindergarten. They don't go from a Young Fives classroom to a first grade classroom. So it's Young Fives to kindergarten if you enroll them in Young Fives. So some of the things that I want to talk about are how to determine, besides chronological age, how you would know whether to enroll your child in Young Fives or kindergarten. If your child does not have most of the skills that I'm going to talk about right now, they are probably better suited for Young Fives. So a kindergartner coming into Endeavor just generally should be able to be away from home without stress. They should be able to sit still and listen to directions, or to listen to a story, or listen to a lesson for 15 to 20 minutes at a time. They should be able to attend, they should be able to play with others in the classroom well. And it is very helpful if they've already attended preschool. If your child has not attended preschool and is on the younger side, I would say like June, July birthday, young fives is probably better suited for your child. Your kiddo should have the ability to complete a task and work cooperatively with others, and be able to comprehend directions. So you should be able to say, I need you to go put on your pajamas, brush your teeth, and I don't know, pick out your clothes for tomorrow. And they should be able to go follow those directions pretty well. So more than one step directions. And then we talk about social emotional readiness. So a child who's going to enter kindergarten should be able to handle classroom expectations. And those expectations would be things like walking in by yourself, hanging up your backpack, remembering to get out your folder to hand into the teacher, being able to sit down at their seat or follow the directions that are given by a teacher, quietly working sometimes during the day, using words instead of hands to communicate frustrations or concerns. Also, so just socially and emotionally, we want our kindergartners to understand turn taking, so that it's not always the teacher didn't call on me, so now I'm mad and I'm going to throw a fit. Understanding that other students need to have a turn also. Respond to redirection. So if they are talking loudly and the teacher says, oh, remember our voices are off, they don't have a meltdown because of that. So if those are some skills that your child has, the majority of those skills, they are probably ready for kindergarten. If they struggle with some of those things, they're probably more suited for our young five situation. Physically, it is really helpful when our kindergartners come to school being able to do their basic self-care. So things like buttoning and unbuttoning their pants, being able to put on their coat correctly and zipping it up, being able to wash and dry their hands, being able to tie their shoes. Those are all things that are very helpful in our kindergarten classrooms. And if your child is able to do most of those things, probably ready for kindergarten. As far as fine motor skills, is your child able to cut, hold a scissors accurately and cut pretty well without frustration? How about holding crayons and pencils correctly? Are they able to write their name? Do they have the ability to trace a line and draw a circle or a square? Like those are some skills that we would want to see as kindergartners enter into our classrooms. If your child can do most of those things, they're probably ready for kindergarten. If they struggle with a lot of the things that I've just said, young fives is probably a better situation for them, and we are lucky enough to have a really well-performing young fives classroom. Some of the cognitive development that we would hope to see is that they can recognize their colors, that they can recognize and repeat a pattern. It's just a simple A-B pattern, that they can recognize their own name and write their own name. And I think I mentioned that one already. They can speak clearly and in sentences. So it's not just one word, request. It's a sentence. And that they can express their feelings in some form. We understand that these are young children and they're still just learning, but when they're angry or when they're sad, being able to express that and not act it out. Now we know that we're going to be doing some learning of those skills in kindergarten, but for the most part, in the majority of the situations, can your child handle their anger and their sadness, or some of those, or even like extreme joy without losing control of their body and their hands and their feet. So those are some of the things that we are looking for as far as basic skills in kindergarten. Oh, thank you, Crystal. At this time, are there any questions about the difference between young fives and kindergarten and what our expectations would be? I don't see any in the chat box. We don't hear anybody unmuting, so we'll go ahead. Mrs. Underheil is going to talk to you a little bit more specifically about being ready for in the area of math, what your child could work on over the summer, and then what the expectation is at the end of kindergarten compared to young fives.
All right. For those who were not here earlier, I am Mrs. Underheil. I am right now the virtual kindergarten teacher, and I am going to talk about math. And I have put up there the difference between young five and kindergarten, and those are the things that are the differences between the two. So we want the young fives to be able to identify 10 or more letters of the alphabet by the end of kindergarten or young fives. Identify letter sounds 5 or more, read several sight words, retell simple stories, and draw pictures to represent math. Count by ones to 20. That's a typo. And then identify numbers 1 through 20. That's for young fives. For kindergarten, by the end of kindergarten, we want them to be able to write 1 to 20 and count 1 to 100. They need to be able to recognize their numbers 1 to 20. The teens are the hardest, and specifically number 15 is the number one hardest number for a kindergartner to say, count, and recognize. The 1-5 is very difficult for them. We want them to be able to count 1 to 1 correspondingly. Like if you have pennies are like the greatest manipulative to use. You can paint them with nail polish 2 different colors, and they're just wonderful, and they're 10 cents for 10 pennies. So 1 to 1 is just moving and counting that 1 penny. And I always instruct my students to actually move it when away from the pile. So if you have a group of pennies, move it away as you're counting, and that will show that they're counting 1 to 1. And again, they need to be able to count to 100 without any mistakes. So I think that is basically the math. Yes? Okay.
Yeah, it's counting by ones to 100 and then also by tens to 100.
Oh, yes, skip counting. Sorry, skip. And we're working on that this week right now. Skip counting by tens, yes.
Yeah. I think also by the end of kindergarten, we'll be doing some simple addition and subtraction. So that would be another thing that we would throw in there too. So are there any questions that you have about math readiness for kindergarten?
Is this on the website to print out?
Mrs. Manier, can you answer that question?
She said
No, it's
Okay.
not on the website. We are going to have an in-person roundup in April, and we'll have that information plus some activity packets and flashcards and stuff that you'll get as attending that event that are going to help you. Or if you want to email or text me, I can mail it out to you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see any other questions. And so thank you, Mrs. Underheil. Next, we're going to have Mrs. Vanderklok tell us a little bit about the reading readiness for kindergarten and the difference between knowing whether your child should be in a young fives kindergarten class or a kindergarten class.
Okay, Mrs. Underhill put the paper up. The top ones are about literacy. They all deal with literacy, so you can look at that. Young fives in kindergarten, we all do the same thing, except for young fives goes a little bit slower, and there's just a little less demand and expectation. If you look on there, like by the end of young fives, your child would know 10 or more letter sounds. They'd know some word wall words. They'd be able to retell a simple story. We're in kindergarten. By the end of kindergarten, kindergartners now, like this is towards the end of kindergarten, we're working on beginning sounds, middle sounds, and ending sounds. Through the stories we do, comprehension lessons we do, our kids are learning how to not just be able to retell a simple story, but be able to give details about it. So whether it's just like a narrative, like the beginning, middle, end, and then like right now this week, the last few weeks, we've been working in kindergarten on being able to tell about the characters and the setting, and then the problem of the story. And then we're gonna go into, okay, how did the character solve the problem? Like we kind of delve a lot deeper into it. And kindergartners are, especially this time of year, are able to sit and work through that, and their thought processes are all like geared towards that. So that's something to kind of think about. Although that's the end of the year. So all those things that Mrs. Penrod talked about, your child being able to decide whether young fives is the right fit or kindergarten is the right fit, just kind of be thinking about that. This is where they're going to be headed towards. It doesn't mean that all your children need to be there now. Another thing, we work on sight words, or my classroom, we call them word wall words. In young fives room, they're by the end of young fives, they will know some words. By the end of kindergarten, I don't even know. Caitlin, Crystal, you'd have to help me. There's a lot. We have like over 100 some words. The goal is, if I have this right, by the end of kindergarten, within like a 1 minute time, when your child is like shown words, like we have word words, when they're shown words, they should be able to do like 30 words in a minute. Like just kind of just know them, because that will help them as they're decoding words to read words. And also the other like strong point for kindergarten is they should be able to do in a 1 minute time 46 letter sounds. It's like so they'll be getting lots of letters, and they can just go down that, like just be able to do the letters. That's something we work on all year long. And so by the end of kindergarten, so you're ready, so your child's ready for first grade, those are all things we try to get them to. And it takes children different times, but we try to get them to there. Anything else you want me to say, Miss? Like how we do that, or just that's enough? Is that good?
No, I think that's good. I think the other, I think the only other thing I was thinking is that we do this year, we have an interventionist in our classroom full time. Next year, I don't know if it'll be all day long, but we do have an interventionist in the classroom. So your kiddos are going to be they'll be in a whole group, but they'll be split into smaller groups as they are learning. So again, being able to fit into those small groups and follow the directions in those small groups. I think that is, and have some sustained ability to sustain attention on tasks. So, thank you, Mrs. Vanderklok. I thought that was really well done. Any questions that you have for reading skills? Okay. Are there any questions at the end of this that you just have in general? It could be about anything about kindergarten or anything about Endeavor that we can answer for you tonight. Okay. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us at the school. I'm more than happy to talk to you about anything that you might have a question about. Mrs. McCalvey can answer your questions. Mrs. Manir is always available to answer your questions. It was very nice to meet you tonight. I know this is kind of an odd way to meet one another, but it was very nice to meet you all tonight. I appreciate you coming. We, like Mrs. Manir mentioned a little bit earlier, we are planning on a mid-April in-person kindergarten event, and would love to meet you and your kiddo in person. We are going to, Mrs. Manir and I are talking about having some staggering our times so that we don't have a ton of people, all at one time. So we're going to stagger it. We are hoping to have the health department here so they can do a vision screener in case your kiddo needs a vision screener before they start. And we will be handing out, at that time, we'll be handing out a kindergarten readiness packet, including the sheet that Mrs. Underheil shared with you tonight about the difference between young fives and kindergarten. So is there anything else tonight before we say goodbye? Okay.
I was just going to quick mention, I put in the chat box, but if you haven't attended the school and want a tour, we are doing tours after hours only. So we can't do them when students are in the building, but you can do that through our website. Also encourage you to connect to Facebook or Instagram if you have those accounts, because we keep a lot of stuff updated there. So you can kind of connect and see what kind of crazy things we're doing.
Yeah.
And just get hold of us anytime if you do have questions.
Great. Okay. All right. If there is nothing further, then we will wave goodbye and thank you once again. Have a great evening, and please reach out to us if there's anything we can do for you.
Brittany, do
Bye-bye.
you have a question, or are you just pushing buttons? Brittany put her hand up.
Oh, okay.
So you might want to stop recording now.